With a crazy day one of free agency so far, let's recap what the Vegas Golden Knights have done since the draft. What's on, guys? Jay Hoyt back with you today. Welcome back to the channel. Today, like I said in the intro, we're going to be talking about the Vegas Golden Knights so far this offseason. And ever since the season ended, we had made our predictions of what they should do, what kind of moves they should make, what kind of deals they should make. We didn't really get into free agents because we didn't really know who was going to be there. But so far we have the draft, we have a couple of trades, and we have some other players that they let walk so far. And then as I'm recording it, it is 5:41 on the Monday on July 1st, where there's a couple of moves that have not been announced yet, so I'm not really going to get into those in this video, but maybe at a later point we will. But I kind of want to recap the draft. So first round pick, I guess, was Trevor Connolly. That's the 19th overall. Apparently he was projected to go higher, but he had some off-ice issues that kind of dropped him down a little bit. But he's a young kid, and obviously things happen. They also took a Pavel Moisevich, goaltender in the third round. They took, I think this is the 6'7" guy, Trent Swick, a forward in the 6th round, 180th overall. And the Lucas Van Vliet, no idea, 7th round pick for him. So nothing really crazy. I'm not familiar with any of those players, but Connolly is projected to be a pretty good player that is going to college next year, so he will be in a good program there, and hopefully will be a good player for them down the road. But then after the first round pick, I think it was actually in the second day where I wasn't watching my computer and I was doing other things, and they actually made a trade, which I was kind of surprised about. And that trade was Logan Thompson going to the Washington Capitals for 2 third-round draft picks, one in 24, one in 25, so one in this year, one next year. And it kind of baffled me, right? The guy that's on a very low contract, right? He still had one more year at $766,000, and he was a good platoon guy with Adin Hill. Hill kind of had an up and down year, but still was pretty solid, but still, was making a good amount of money. And for what you needed to do this offseason, you would have thought clearing out some money was on the agenda, but apparently not. So it did come out that Logan Thompson did ask for the trade. He did believe that he could be a starter in the NHL and really wasn't getting that kind of, clear-cut role of the number one guy in Vegas. So like I said, he was platooning with Adin Hill. So I do get that, but here's the thing. Washington, on the other hand, we're not going to go too much in their trades, but they have made a lot of trades this offseason, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them in the playoffs next year. And they kind of needed a number one guy there after, last year not really having one and more of having a platoon there. So Thompson should get a pretty good opportunity in Washington, giving him a couple of third-round picks for potentially a starting goaltender. I don't know if I agree with that, but either way, we don't really know how he's going to do. But either way, he asked for a trade. He was making a really low contract, so you really hate to get rid of that. But also at the same time, you don't want to keep your players hostage. So I understand it, but it does kind of suck. So then the next part of the offseason was like, all right, cool, like nothing else happened. But wait, there's more. They made a second trade. And when I saw this one, I saw a trade Paul Cotter and a third-round pick to New Jersey. And I'm like, okay, like whatever. Get rid of Paul Cotter. Maybe they get like a third, fourth-line guy. No, they got a little bit more than that. So, like I said, traded Paul Cotter and a 2025 third-round draft pick to the New Jersey Devils for goaltender Akira Schmid and forward Alexander Holtz. Now, when I initially saw this trade, I got really excited because, one, I wasn't a huge fan of Cotter, right? He was just a third-line, fourth-line guy. He didn't really seem to be anything special on the ice, and he was only really playing above the fourth line just due to injuries and due to the chemistry of that fourth line. So, I wasn't upset seeing him go, along with the third round draft pick, which, again, who knows what draft picks are actually worth And then getting back Akira Schmid, I'm like, okay, they get rid of a goaltender. Now they get a goaltender who I knew was, young. He's 24 years old. And, has kind of been up and down performance-wise ever since he came into the league, right? He didn't start great in the NHL, but he had a great season in the AHL. They tried him out in the NHL again, didn't really do too hot, but AHL he did well. Then had an okay year in the NHL, a little bit low, not so great in the AHL. He just kind of bounced around a little bit. Not really, consistent, from a young goaltender. But again, you're young and you're a goaltender, the hardest position arguably in hockey. But the real reason I was very excited for this trade was getting forward Alexander Holtz. Now, if you guys don't know who Holtz is, he is now a 22-year-old forward, obviously from the New Jersey Devils draft pick. He was the 7th overall draft pick in 2020, who was a young right winger with a lot of potential upside. If you look at other fellow Swedish players like Lucas Raymond from Detroit, players similar to that, he was arguably in that conversation of being just as good as him, who just came off, I think it was like a 30-goal year. So Holtz definitely has the ability. He's still young. He still has some speed. But like Logan Thompson, he wanted a change of scenery. He was playing on the fourth line. He still pulled up like 25 or something points in New Jersey, playing on the fourth line. But he never really got the chance to kind of succeed up on in the top 6, top 9, kind of role. So I love this trade, right? Getting rid of Cotter, which I really wasn't a fan of, I think is a great trade. Then getting a goaltender who gives you some more depth, and also if you're going to be getting a kind of another goalie to be the backup in the NHL, which Kelly McCrimmon did kind of say that's what was going to happen, was they were going to look for another guy. Obviously, Schmid is there if they need him, but the plan was to go acquire a backup goaltender. So I absolutely love this second trade from Vegas. So, super exciting, right? You got a couple of draft picks. You traded away Thompson, which, wasn't necessarily a great, move in my opinion, but I get it at the same time. And then this second trade is a great trade. It helps out, with the potential loss of some of your free agents, and then it kind of helps out. So then going into the offseason, of course, you had a couple of RFAs, which they did send qualifying offers to Pavel Dorofeev and Caden Korczak, which was super exciting because obviously both those players, should have a bright future and, should honestly have a chance to break in the lineup this year, potentially given whatever they do the rest of the offseason. Then the other thing was, the big question was, can they re-sign Jonathan Marchessault? So that was the huge question, going into this offseason. They want to sign Marchessault, so they want to bring him back. What was it, 42 goals, 32 goals, something like that? A great season for him. That was their number one, arguably, priority this offseason. Well, it was announced today that didn't happen. So Marchessault does walk in free agency. He does go over to Nashville in a 5-year, $5.5 million contract. So obviously a good amount of money going his way. So it does suck that Marchessault does walk, and obviously there is some pretty good free agents still out there. But you're probably not going to get another really good season for Marchessault, given the 42 goals I think it was last year. So that does, kind of, it's sad to see. Obviously, he's an original Golden Knight. You wanted to bring him back, but at the same time, like, business is business. And I think he was, 32, 33 years old, something like that. And obviously, he's, getting up there in age, and getting a 5-year contract was obviously important to him. And, Nashville, I think they did make the playoffs this year. I think they got first rounded. But, obviously, good luck to him in the future, and, not against Vegas, but, good luck in Nashville. But other than Marchessault, we have Chandler Stevenson. He did sign with Seattle, being a relatively big contract. 7 years, $6.25 million for him. So he gets the big contract. He obviously was not going to get that in Vegas. So, again, congrats to him. Then also we have William Carrier. He did sign in Carolina for 6 years, $2 million a year for him. Obviously, they were not going to give him that in Vegas. Then the next one, Michael Amadio. We did talk about all these players, but Michael Amadio to Ottawa, 3 years, $2.6 million a year for him. You also have Anthony Mantha to Calgary, 1 year, $3.5 million for Mantha. And then the last one that I saw, maybe I missed some, but the last one, Alec Martinez going to Chicago, 1 year, $4 million for him. So lots of moves. It's only day one with lots on the horizon. Like I said, there is a few players that I'm guessing have not been announced yet, but actually are on the cap-friendly website, and one of them being Ilya Samsonov, which I believe was from Washington. It doesn't have any kind of money attached to it, just kind of has his name there. So I'm guessing something's in the works, potentially a signing soon enough. And then also there's a couple of forwards as well, Zach Austin Reese and Tanner Lazinski, I think it is. So again, not sure what's going on with those guys, but those guys are appearing on Cap Friendly. So I guess we'll wait and see for the official announcements. But so far, a little bit disappointing the Thompson trade. But again, we get it. Decent draft results from the 4 players that we got. And of course, we made a big trade getting Alexander Holtz into Vegas. But other than that, obviously it's sad to see those free agents go, but again, it's part of the business. But as always, guys, I hope you did enjoy. If you did, make sure to hit the like button down below, subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, guys, we'll see you in the next one.